I grew up in Harrow, a charming town where everyone knows your name, and secrets don't stay hidden for long. After high school, I left for college, chasing dreams beyond the familiar streets of my hometown. Once I graduated, I plunged into the retail world, discovering not just a knack for selling but an undeniable passion for lingerie. That passion became my driving force. I worked tirelessly, climbing my way up until I eventually owned a chain of lingerie stores. From cozy boutiques to upscale showrooms, I poured my heart and soul into building a brand I was proud of. Professionally, I was soaring, but despite my success, something inside me felt incomplete. Then came Henry. It all started innocently, a friend request from a man in a sharp suit, his profile picture revealing a piercing gaze to match his impeccable attire. Intrigued, I accepted. He was a lawyer, which explained his polished appearance, and our first conversation left me hooked. His wit was infectious, and before long, he became the person I turned to for light-hearted banter after a long day. From trading jokes about terrible pickup lines to sharing dreams and aspirations, our connection felt natural and refreshing. One evening, Henry suggested we meet in person. We chose my favorite cafe, a small spot known for its strong brews. Seeing him in real life, I was struck by how effortlessly captivating he was. We talked for hours, covering everything from business to personal aspirations. He listened intently, hanging on every word I said, and for the first time in years, I felt truly seen. Over the next year, our bond deepened. Henry was everything I never knew I needed: charming, intelligent, and attentive. Then, one chilly evening, he surprised me outside one of my stores as I was locking up. His breath misted in the cold air as he nervously presented a small, elegant box. His eyes, filled with both determination and vulnerability, met mine as he said, "We've done well just the two of us, but maybe it's time to make it official." I stood there, keys in hand, my heart racing as he smiled that lopsided smile I loved. "I say, will you marry me? I don't want to beat around the bush. I want you by my side forever." Excitement and uncertainty swirled within me. Was I ready for marriage? But as I met his gaze, everything felt perfectly aligned. The word escaped my lips before I even had time to think. "Yes," I whispered. "Yes, I'll marry you." His smile softened, but then his expression grew serious. "There's one more thing we need to talk about," he said, his voice taking on a somber tone. The word prenup hit me like a cold wave. "Really, Henry? Is that necessary?" I asked, my voice betraying my surprise. He gently took my hands, his sincerity evident. "I say, it's not about trust. It's just practical. As a lawyer, I've seen too many messy separations. This is just a precaution, something that protects us both." I hesitated, trying to process his words. What kind of protection are we talking about? He retrieved a stack of papers from his briefcase. "It's simple. If either of us strays, the one who cheats forfeits their assets. It's fair, straightforward, and you know I'd never betray you. This is just about being cautious." The romantic proposal I'd envisioned was suddenly tinged with pragmatism. I glanced at the papers, then back at him, searching his eyes for answers. His sincerity was unwavering. "I'll consider it," I said finally, "but just so we're clear, Henry, I don't plan on giving you a reason to ever use this." "That's all I ask," he replied, relief softening his expression. We celebrated our engagement at a cozy restaurant. The atmosphere was perfect, the food divine, and for a while, I forgot the awkwardness of the earlier conversation. As we strolled beneath the stars later that night, Henry pulled me close. "You know I love you, right? No contract can change that." Resting my head against his chest, I whispered, "I know. I love you too. But let's make sure this prenup doesn't come between us, okay?" He kissed my forehead. "I promise it won't." A few days later, after consulting my own lawyer, I signed the prenup. It felt strange to focus on a potential end before the beginning, but I trusted Henry and was ready to take a leap of faith. For a while, life felt like a dream. We were the couple everyone admired, sharing laughs and stolen glances at parties. But as the months passed, subtle changes crept in. The first crack appeared during a shopping trip when I casually chatted with a sales manager about perfumes. As we left, Henry's demeanor shifted. "Who was that?" he asked sharply. Just the sales guy, I replied, confused. Why? You seemed really into him, he muttered, his tone accusing. I froze, stunned. Are you serious? I was just talking about perfumes, Henry. What's going on with you? He scoffed, brushing it off. Forget it. Let's just go home. That moment marked the beginning of a troubling pattern. Henry grew possessive, his jealousy simmering beneath the surface. If I so much as spoke to another man, even in passing, he'd sulk or make sarcastic remarks. At home, he became distant, spending hours on his laptop or phone while I ate dinner alone. Unable to bear the growing tension, I confronted him one evening. Henry, we need to talk, I said, stepping into his study and closing his laptop to get his attention. He sighed deeply, rubbing his temples. I say, you don't get it. The pressure at work, everything, it's a lot. And when I see you laughing and chatting with other men, it feels like you don't respect our relationship enough to keep your distance. His words stung. The conversation escalated, frustrations boiling over until the cracks in our relationship could no longer be ignored. And then came the final blow. I discovered he'd been telling people I was flirting with other men. You've been spreading rumors about me? I demanded, my voice trembling with anger. It's not like that, he stammered. I might have said something, but it's because of the way they look at you. I can't help it. You have no right, I interrupted. You're supposed to support me, not tear me down. That argument marked a turning point, forcing me to face the truth about the man I thought I knew so well. A few days after our fight, I found a note from Henry on the kitchen counter. His handwriting was neat but rushed, as if he had scribbled it in a hurry. I say, let's try to start over. Meet me at the Grandview Hotel, room 181, at 7:10 p.m. tonight. Let's put the past behind us and move forward. H. I stared at the note, my emotions tangled. Was this his way of making amends? Could we truly wipe the slate clean and rebuild what was broken? A flicker of hope stirred in my chest as I decided to go. The day passed in a blur. My thoughts were consumed by what lay ahead. As the evening approached, I dressed carefully, wanting to appear composed even though my nerves threatened to undo me. When I arrived at the Grandview Hotel, the flicker of hope I'd held on to quickly dimmed. The man waiting for me in that room was not the Henry the first knew. His face was a mask of fury, his voice sharp and cold. So, the prodigal wife finally returns, he snarled, his words laced with contempt. Henry, we need to talk, I said, trying to steady my voice. But he didn't let me finish. He cut me off, his anger boiling over. Something terrible happened tonight, I say. Care to explain? Before I could reply, he slammed a stack of photographs onto the table. His face twisted in fury as he demanded, then explain these. Trembling, I picked up the photos. My heart stopped. There I was, caught in a compromising position in a hotel room with a man I didn't even recognize. My world tilted on its axis. Henry, I swear I don't know this man. I've never seen him before. Something strange happened. I can't explain it, I stammered, panic rising in my chest. His laugh was bitter and dark, cutting through me like a blade. A monstrous mistake or your monstrous actions, he sneered. Marrying you was my actual mistake. Tears blurred my vision, but I forced myself to stay calm. I didn't do this. You have to believe me, I pleaded. Believe you, he spat. Why should I? You're nothing but a liar and a cheater. I'll make sure you don't get a dime from me. I'm taking this to court. I'll take everything. Grabbing his suitcase, he stormed out, slamming the door behind him with a force that shook the walls. I collapsed onto the couch, my body racked with sobs. My head throbbed with a dull, pounding pain. The events of the night were a disjointed blur. Something felt horribly wrong, not just emotionally but physically. My thoughts were foggy, my body heavy. Then it hit me. The wine. I had only had one glass, but the dizziness, the blackout, it was far too severe for that. Desperate for answers, I called my friend Riley, a nurse. Riley, something's wrong, I said, my voice shaky. I had one glass of wine, and everything went dark. Now Henry has these photos of me. I don't understand. There was a pause before Riley's voice came back, steady but filled with concern. ISA, it sounds like you were drugged. You need to get to a hospital or a lab right away. Tell them everything, about the wine, your symptoms, all of it. Clinging to her words, I drove to the lab, my thoughts spinning. The technician took several vials of blood, and the waiting began. Days later, a letter arrived from Henry. My hands trembled as I tore it open. The contents confirmed my worst fears. The cold, formal language detailed his lawsuit against me, citing the photographs as evidence of infidelity. He was invoking our prenuptial agreement to strip me of everything. Panicked, I called my lawyer, Jacob. His voice was calm, a lifeline in the chaos. ISA, come to my office. We need to strategize, he said. The month leading up to the trial was grueling. Sleepless nights, endless questions, and the weight of Henry's betrayal bore down on me. But when the day finally came, I was ready. In the courtroom, Henry's dramatic claims unraveled under the weight of evidence. The actor in the photos, paid to stage the scene, confessed. The blood test results confirmed I had been drugged. And the investigation into Henry's past revealed a pattern of manipulation and deceit. The truth came to light, dismantling his accusations and exposing the monster he had become. As the judge ruled in my favor, a profound sense of vindication washed over me. But it wasn't just relief, it was freedom. The emotional toll, however, lingered. I had spent countless nights doubting myself, questioning my worth, and replaying every moment in my head. Now, the truth was undeniable. Later, I returned to my lingerie store. The familiar hum of activity was both comforting and strange. This space, once my sanctuary, had been tainted by Henry's shadow. But now, it was mine again. As I locked up for the night, the setting sun cast a warm glow through the windows. I paused, taking it all in. The world had shifted. I had shifted. I was no longer the woman Henry had tried to control. I was someone stronger, someone who had fought for her truth and reclaimed her life. I didn't have all the answers, but I had a fresh start. And for now, that was enough.